Sandra and Bragg's policies are following a new precedent set by district attorneys in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, and Philadelphia. All of them cities where many crimes are on the rise. But in all of those cities, the DAs got into office with the help of billionaire George Soros and his big fat bankroll. So what is Soros' ultimate goal here? Let's bring in Town Hall editor and Fox News contributor Katie Pavlich. Soros, ostensibly, is looking at criminal justice reform, which is a bipartisan issue. I mean, this is something that President Trump and Jared Kushner worked long and hard on. But Soros' vision of criminal justice reform is not exactly bipartisan, Katie.
Yeah, John, a couple of years ago, far-left activists who don't believe in incarceration and believe that the American system of justice has to be torn down and rebuilt from their leftist ideology standpoint, put out a call basically to elect local prosecutors to do what their vision is for criminal justice reform, which is really social justice and implementing their social justice ideology and policies. And when you have someone like George Soros who can dump $1 million into a local race, for example, in 2016 with Kim Foxx in Chicago, he gave her $300,000. She got elected. For her re-election, he gave her $1 million. When you're dumping that kind of money into local races, it's very difficult to compete, especially when the voter turnout in those races tends to be very low. But as we've seen in Chicago, murder rates are through the roof. They're letting people out of prison. We've seen this all over the country. And in terms of the ideology here, this isn't just about incompetence. This is a deeply held ideology that you've seen implemented in cities across the country. You showed all the DAs on the screen, and it really comes down to what the DA-elect in New York just said in that interview, I believe with Eric Shawn, when he said, well, it just depends on what your definition of a criminal is. And as you see with the policies, they do not believe in putting people in prison because they think that the system is systemically racist and irredeemable, and therefore they want everybody to be released out of it, regardless if you're a murderer or not.
And I think the scariest part of this, too, Katie, is when you deal with the new vision that Alvin Bragg has, that armed robbery, as long as nobody was really ever threatened or hurt, will be charged as a misdemeanor, petty larceny. That will cause the police to not show up when somebody calls to say somebody's holding us up with a gun. Senator Tom Cotton told the New York Post the following: everywhere Soros-backed prosecutors go, crime follows. These legal arsonists have abandoned their duty to public safety by pursuing leniency even for the most heinous crime, and they often flat out refuse to charge criminals for shoplifting, vagrancy, and entire categories of misdemeanors. Based on what we have seen in big cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles, and to some degree Chicago as well, with these smash and grab robbers, et cetera, it's really affecting quality of life and the economy.
Absolutely. We know what works in New York. The DA-elect in New York is saying, I want to do something different. What we're doing isn't working. Well, what did work in New York to clean up the streets was a broken window policy under Mayor Rudy Giuliani, where you were punished for crimes that were minor crimes that didn't lead to larger crimes. Now you have the opposite approach, where the DA doesn't want to prosecute very violent crimes and is turning them into misdemeanors, which we've seen as a result of those policies with these smash and grab running into these stores and not prosecuting people who are stealing things. What about not prosecuting people who are attacking innocent victims in a violent fashion on the street? And just to give you some more background on the ideology here, George Soros is picking people who truly believe in this non-incarceration model of criminal justice reform. For example, the DA in San Francisco, Chesa Boudin, when he ran for office in 2019, he told a story about how he understands that he grew up visiting his parents in prison. He made it seem like the system was unjust, but his parents were in prison for murder. That's why they were in prison. And so he has this idea that they just shouldn't have any incarceration, even for the most violent of crimes, which people are convicted of or plead guilty to.
That's not going to end well. Katie Pavlich, great to see you. It's been a while. Happy New Year to you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.